Well, this is Teddy Keckstead from Forex Trading Unlocked, and we are here on April 27th, 2020 with a daily Forex market analysis and live trading breakdown for you. Before we get into it, I just want to show you our disclaimer to remind you this webinar is for illustrative and educational purposes only. And now we will get to our live screen. We are here at the Forex-Trading-Unlocked.com website. We have the workstation page already pulled up. We're going to skip past the numbers. And we're going to go right to our charts. But real quick, before we even start to figure out where the currencies are going, let's look at the dollar index. So the dollar index has been in a nice little upward sloping bullish trend for the past month and a half. Overall, that is. Obviously, for the past basically 3 weeks, it's been pretty much in a big sideways. For considering the volatility we've had, you can see how much it has dropped down. Now, here's something you want to take a look at. We've maintained this upward sloping path right here. You can see we're riding just along this curve here. We had this buy signal that was a couple weeks ago. On Friday, we had poked into our target zone. This right here was where we were looking for us to get to. Now, here's something that you have to take into consideration. We had hit our targets, however, we fell short of hitting our actual new swing high. So what does that mean? That means we hit our targets. Does that mean that we are not going to get another bullish wave from the dollar index? Obviously, today it isn't happening so far. No, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get another surge. We may do that and take out that last swing high, or we may start to fall back onto support. If we take out this upward sloping yellow line here, then that sets us up for sideways, because that would mean what? That would mean that we will have had a higher move low after a higher move high, which that kept the bear trend or bullish trend intact, correct? And then we had a lower move high followed by a higher move low, which put us into neutral. So now we have had a lower move high with a higher move low, followed with right now what could be a short-term high, and if that is, it's a lower move high, which sets us up to maintain this bearish to neutral posture. So we'll see what happens, but that's where the dollar is starting to really settle into. So let's go to the biggest component of the dollar index, our Euro-US dollar. As you can see, the market set a nice little low on Friday and has bounced up. Was a little bit positive today. It had been higher on the day. Right now we are in the lower part of the range. It's only slightly positive on the day. This could be just a corrective rally that occurred today too. Remember, Europe has been getting back online. Germany's been back online for a week. In the UK, which is no longer part of the EU, we have Boris Johnson, who went back to work today. Now, we had this sell signal here a week and a half ago, which was triggered, and it made newer move lows, hit our target zone, and now it seems to have found support. Now, if the dollar index is starting to settle into a range trade and balance out while we start to figure out what goes on with the coronavirus with the major countries as we start to come back online. If things are going well, then we might start to get back on the path where we were before this whole coronavirus hit. If not, obviously, if there's a wave two with that, then we can see probably that things will get crazy again and we'll have volatility. Maybe not necessarily like we had back in March, but I think right now you can obviously see that just by the ranges themselves that there's not much action relatively compared to how things had been recently. So we had our sell signal. We've reached our targets. Now what are we looking for? Well, we don't really have anything right now, so we're waiting to see what's going on. So we'll find out what happens after the close today. Let's see if we settle positive or if we settle lower on the day. If we settle lower on the day, remember that so far this market has been making lower move highs with well, this one also had taken us off gears because last week, the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday, we made a lower move low. So after a lower move high, we made a lower move low, which is indicative of a downward trending market. But this also may be starting to find a base. Notice how that when you look at this as a whole, especially over the past 2 months, let's make this a little bit thicker for you so you can see it. What do we have here? The market bottomed here. We bounced up this high all the way up to 115. Remember that, folks? We were up at 115 in the euro. We went all the way that high in just a couple of weeks, then fell all the way back down here to around 106.5, and then all the way back up here to 111. I mean, look at this volatility. But what do we notice here? We had this bottom here, we had this bottom here, and right here it looks like, see what I'm saying? We can barely stay below this 107.80, and that's really the big thing, is if you come down to this right around 107 even area from 106 half up, there's heavy support there, definitely around this little area here. So if we're starting to base, let's say the euro, let's say that the US dollar is going to start to fall back against your major currencies, and or at least settle into a neutral trade, which is what we've been looking for. That gives credence to set some bottoms here, especially in a currency like this, and then boom, at least here in one of their major currencies, you're going to probably see the dollar be under pressure for a little bit. Now, I'm not looking for a major bull move here. I'm talking about just we're setting the bottom parameters here. You know, we can go up here, and we can also put the top of our range also right in here and say, oh, look at what we got here. This is what the range what we're looking at. And remember that the euro for the longest time had been basically trading in a $4 range. So let's remember where we were before this whole coronavirus happened, and be prepared for what's coming up next. Now, if we do want to see if the dollar is going to gain some strength, here's one of the places we're going to find out if it's going to happen or not. What do we have here? We have a potential head and shoulders forming here. We had the recent higher move high with a higher move low. We've had this nice little rally the past couple days. So here's our neckline. So what we're going to look at here is that as long as we stay below this head right here, then we're looking for some reversing of gears. Now, what would this mean? This would mean that the pound relative to the dollar would start to lose strength, meaning the dollar would come in with some strength. Does that really fit our scenario right now? Not really, but we still could get another blast with the dollar pushing through into, like I said, into that little bit of that target zone before it reverses gears, or maybe it won't reverse gears. What we do have here is we do have a potential sell setup. So we have the upward sloping yellow line here as our neckline, and then we have the last swing high and this last swing low as our breakout parameters to the upside and the downside. Any rally to the upside would keep this trend intact, keep us a bull, and definitely have us looking for higher move highs as we continue to pressure resistance. However, a failure to get back up to those levels, and especially if we fall below this neckline here, that puts us in a nice play, making an setting up for a nice play for this $21.65 area. And if we can fall below there, that means what? We'll have set a higher move high and lower move lows, which has us on the neutral to bearish to pack, which will then also go with a new scenario, meaning the dollar strength is still pressing higher. So right now we're looking at dollar weakness is right now definitely the call with what's going on with the euro and also with the pound. But as you can see, these ranges are tightening, and even though they're strong versus the dollar, they're not making any big moves. So just like when we looked at the dollar index to start out, remember, we're only looking for a consolidation here right now. We're not looking for any major differences. Now here's the US dollar versus the Swiss, ironically, versus the other European currencies. This one is actually the US dollar's gaining strength. So that's why I'm thinking that we are getting into this sideways to neutral trade. As you can see, this chart as well is doing the same thing. We had a signal last week that it manifested its bull run up into Friday, and now we are done. Now we had trades that were on that we got out of the euro and the US dollar. Those came out as winners. The Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar trades we had, they came back at us, and we lost a little bit of that, so we got stopped out. So that was that cleared the books. So right now we don't have any trades on in either the Forex market, the futures market, or the binary options markets, or even the futures options markets, because we're waiting for a signal. And as you can see, we're seeing a major consolidation system going on here. We're looking for a failure for the pound to set off a head and shoulders to give us a signal for a break there, or anything else. Right now we have nothing to go on. We've run the course for and now since we hit our targets too, this puts us in a moment where we're set up for basically what? Sideways, which goes with the other theory with the US dollar. However, this is not the case everywhere. Fundamentally, the coronavirus is still pushing the Turkish lira lower versus the dollar. In other words, the dollar is a bull versus this currency. They still continue to climb in cases. They're not bending the curve. And as long as Iraq and Turkey and some of the other countries in that region maintain a steepening curve with the coronavirus, it's hard to say when you're going to get a dollar sell-off. Will it come? Of course it's going to happen eventually. Eventually we're going to get a correction, but so far every correction's been swallowed up by the bulls right away. So I would be leery of trying to jump in front of a weakening dollar versus the lesser currencies, because this is one area where I think the dollar index, that's why I think it's going to hold up too. Even if you start to see a major move with the euro or the pound or the Swiss, or even the yen and the Canada for in the short run. I think all of your other currencies as a whole are still going to be weak versus the dollar. But let's see what's going on. So we know that this one here has a fundamental that's still driving it. We do have a head and shoulder situation forming in the U.S. dollar Mexican peso. However, we have the same issue as well with this one with the coronavirus. The number of cases with COVID-19 in Mexico has risen. Just 2 weeks ago, they were at just over 1,000. Now they're at over 13,000. So that's a big deal for them. And as it grows, hopefully it's contained and it's gonna they're at the peak of their curve. If so, then we'll probably see a sell-off. Now, if we have this head and shoulders like we have here, we're gonna watch out for this low right here where we had that nice buy signal that took us up into this rally. We hit our target zone, and now we're kind of faltering there as well. Let's move this over here. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Forex Trading Unlocked, also to watch these videos and know when we have these signals, when they are manifesting themselves and we're managing them. Right now, they've run their course, and right now we're just looking for something to happen. So never want to just trade the trade. So once again, we are looking at this potential head and shoulders formation, looking to see if we'll get a break and a bearish sell-off, giving us a nice little, hopefully a nice bearish run to capitalize off of. Or if not, we'll see the dollar strength continue to purge resistance and then make higher move highs, which will take us off this head and shoulders pattern, and then we'll be looking for something else to go with. But right now, we're kind of just looking at dollar strength here. This is the one place where I think it's, like I said, because of the fundamental, it's going to remain. Now, U.S. dollar Canada is not quite the same thing. This hit its upside target zone last week and then fell off of it. Obviously, it has tried to hold up, but it seems like it just continues to go sideways. If you look at this over the course of the past month and a half, it really hasn't. I mean, it's definitely had volatility, but we've been from $1.38 to $1.43 in a $5 range, which basically it's been in a $3 range for the bulk of it. Not much left on any given day. Bulls and bears, I think, have been getting chopped up as a whole. We had a buy signal here that came up into that zone. Anyone that held on to it, if you tried to work it for even to press it up into the upper zone, obviously that did not happen. So, but we don't know. Right now we have made consecutive higher move highs and higher move lows. So in a short run, it's neutral to bullish. So we're looking for it to probably maybe make another run at this upper target zone. But I don't know. Right now, look at the range today. It doesn't look like it really wants to do anything. So this is what's making me wonder what's going on with these markets. I think that they're winding the coil, and they are going to pop. But, I mean, you have a 50-50 chance whether they go up or down. And right now, you got to wait for a signal. There's no reason to jump in, and there's just no opportunity. Unless you're a range trader, you guys are making a killing right now the past couple days, especially in the Canadian market. No matter what, buying into new highs and selling into new lows has worked. Or excuse me, selling into new highs rather than buying into new lows. What am I talking about? All right, so we have the Australian dollar, U.S. dollar, where we had a sell signal a couple weeks ago that eventually came back on us. It was only up for a little bit, and then it grinded us out, stopped us out. Now it's made a higher move high, and it looks like it wants to run out of gas. So who knows? As far as dollar strength, it's iffy that they're going to be able to maintain this here. But as long as China seems to be grinding its engines into full gear, Australia should benefit from that. Seems like the COVID virus doesn't seem to be as harsh down in Australia and New Zealand and that part of the world, which is helping to give a boost to the Australian dollar, U.S. dollar. Obviously, this market has maintained its bullish posture since the middle of March and has continued to pressure new highs into today. So it's a month-long surge after basically being in a bear trend for a long, long time. But then the question is this just a correction? Well, let's take a look at something here. We did do something interesting, and this is what makes me wonder about what is going on here. So today was the day that we finally broke the downtrend. This could be more of a neutral signal than a bullish signal. I wouldn't necessarily say that this raging bear that has based like this has now all of a sudden become a raging bull. We have to see. Unless there was a major sell-off in the dollar, I can't see how momentum is going to carry this up to very much higher. As far as I just don't see it. I mean, we have to see economically we have to get the engines going to where even China, they can maybe be back online with their factories, but if they have no one to sell to, how long is that going to maintain itself? Eventually there's going to be a slowdown in Australia again. So right now we're looking for a signal. Let's look at the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, which is also complementing this move. However, look what this has done. This has not made a higher move high, and this is what worries me about that whole Australian move. Maybe we have a divergence truly in the New Zealand dollar and the Australian dollar as far as how they are moving versus the US dollar. But this one has a head and shoulders forming as well. So what happens here? Now this one we had our sell signal. We had gotten stopped out. This one also was barely ever a winner. We finally got out of this one. So what do we do with it? Well, we don't have anything right now. Right now we are looking at this as a potential head and shoulders, potential sell signal here, especially if you take out this low. Only a breach of this high up here, which would be the head, do we see us really getting into a bullish format. Now, just because the Australian dollar made that new high, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be totally doing their own thing now. Maybe there is a true divergence, but just like we showed you how the Australian dollar had made a breakout from the downtrend, well, look at what hasn't happened here. We don't have a breakout from the downtrend here, and we do have, whoops, we do have that neckline there. Obviously, you can see we have this here. So it's steep. So let's just say that this low from 2 sessions ago, that this is going to be our baseline for support. If we take out this low, what does that do? It takes out obviously this new trend line here that we're putting here. It also would take out this neckline here, and that would set us up to come testing this 58.44 area, where if we fail from here, well, then we have a confirmed head and shoulders, which now does that mean it's going to send us down to new move lows? Well, maybe not. I don't know. But it will have us set up to maintain a neutral to lower posture, which would mean a weak New Zealand dollar versus the dollar. Dollar strength coming in, especially versus your major currencies in a big way, would go in line with these head and shoulders. So these head and shoulders, we have a very mixed bag of goods going on here. It's very indifferent. We have potential divergence going on with these currencies. It's what makes the currencies really, really fun. But I think that we definitely have a difference of what's going on from our original, trading in tandem a lot, where the dollar was just taking a lead against everybody. Once again, let's talk about sideways volatility, where that dried up. The U.S. dollar yen for the past week and a half has just been abysmal. So anyone that was a bull or a bear, I'm sure, was getting chopped up. Only range traders can I see possibly having done well during this period. We'll see how things will move moving forward into the week. We have not made a newer move low today. We tried. We're in a holding pattern, so I don't know what to tell you here. We don't have a signal. We had a signal a couple weeks ago, and now we're going nowhere with this one. So we don't want to force any trades out there. Sorry, I know everyone wants to have a trade of the day or whatever. Well, I'm telling you right now, there's no trade of the day. And what you need to be paying attention to the fact is that because we have been winding down, think about it, we went from super high volatility to this really, really quiet action going on here. So let's take a look at this. What do we have here as far as a trend? This market could wedge for a while. So, but we need to have a breakout here onto the upside. This would help us, and even that still has us in a very neutral posture. And then here we have the lows that were set. Well, actually, it was set over there, but we'll just show you how it goes here along here. This is the support base right here, which we're hanging on. So even if we take this out, do I see us really trending lower? No, not really, because it doesn't seem like we have very much momentum in either case. So it just seems like this is very weak. But let's say the dollar weakness becomes an issue, like we said in it when we first started the webinar today. If dollar weakness falls into place with the euro and the Swiss and the pound and the Canada, and then all of a sudden, let's say with the peso, we get that head and shoulders manifest, and things like that. And then the British pound, US dollar, all of a sudden gets another rally. What does that set us up for? Well, then that set us up definitely to batter support and put the U.S. dollar yen into a little bit more of a bearish formation. So we'll have to see, but right now we don't have, the news just doesn't seem to want to spark it, no matter what's going on in Japan or in Asia or even in the United States. So we just don't have a signal with this currency. So there's really nothing that we can gauge with that. So let's go back to the euro US dollar and see where we are after having gone around the world in the currencies. As you can see, not much going on in the world of the currencies today. It's 12:30 Chicago time, lunchtime, sleepy markets, a couple of hours from the rollover for currencies going into Tuesday. There's just not much going on in the world. Sorry, we don't have much to tell you. We'd like to be giving you more action, like things have been crazy for the past couple months, let alone the past couple of weeks. We had a lot of great signals that we hope people were able to take advantage of, and if not, we just got to wait for the next ones, and as soon as they come out, we will be having more videos to let you know. We're going to have our daily analysis, and just right now today for a Monday, it's a sleepy, lazy coronavirus day. As people are doing nothing. Things are starting to get back online in many of the states in the United States, as well as many of the major cities in somewhat capacities. Some states are not necessarily opening up, but they are opening up certain services, which every little bit helps, especially when it comes to the medical communities and stuff like that. So we'll see how things turn out. The curve continues to flatten in more places than not, and we'll see what goes on. So with that, we are looking for some signals. We'll let you know when they are. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when they do come up. And if you want to know how to manage some signals and find some signals, read the book High Probable Japanese Candlestick Patterns while you're waiting for these things to manifest. You can find these on Amazon.com in paperback or Kindle version. And through it, you can utilize the best buy and sell patterns used for over 400 years to give yourself a competitive edge against the markets. This works in the Forex markets, the futures markets, the options markets, the stock markets, the binary options markets, you name it. If it's a market, these things do work. You just have to use them properly. Most people have been trained improperly or use them or have always just had an assumption of how to use them, and it's been incorrect. So if you know how to learn the secret nuances of them, which patterns work, all of them do not work. In fact, many of them are just, they're recognizable patterns that just happen every once in a while, and just like a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, so will any type of unique pattern you come up with. So, but find the ones that really do work, and then you have something you can use to your advantage. So read the book or the Kindle, and you will find out what I am talking about. With that being said, check us out every day at forex-trading-unlocked.com, and we will see you soon.